Hey guys, WandaVision. Let's talk WandaVision. It's hard to explain for people who don't pay attention to the bigger picture of MCU, and it's really even harder to explain to people who don't know comic books very well. But at the same time, I can explain it by saying, just go watch it. It's a great show. This is kind of like a mid-season hot take. Episode 2 and Episode 1 came out the same day. They gave us a twofer when it came to premiering the show. Great idea by Disney. Thank you. First episode was really not much, but at the same time, it was a lot. It's set in the 1950s. It's like a 1950s sitcom, and it's just, wacky stuff. Wanda's like being kind of like a bewitched style person, and Vision's doing the exact same. Like, he's just performing all of their feats, but like in silly looking 1950s style, like throwing some plates around, some bad graphics here, but they're fun, and it's fun. But the question is, why is this happening? Why are we in the 1950s right now? How is Vision alive? Why is Scarlet Witch's powers completely different? But then at the end of the episode, it cuts to color and away from the TV screen, and someone sitting there watching them. All of a sudden, the show just got better. Oh, there's a bigger picture here. Okay, now I'm invested. The next episode, so we meet this character named Geraldine. Becomes kind of friendly with Wanda. Awesome. But then something happens. The radio cuts on. Starts saying Wanda, Wanda, Wanda. Wanda looks distraught. What's going on here? Pretty much the show is got me like 50 million ways of theorizing. But when we started watching the show, I thought for two things. I was like, A, Wanda's being held hostage and someone's trying to abuse her powers and she's fighting back. Or B, Wanda's gone crazy with the loss of Vision. There's also things going on that really go in depth into the Marvel canon and continuity. She starts seeing the sword symbol around a lot, and the sword symbol goes back to an organization on Earth called SWORD. Funny, right? It's a division of S.H.I.E.L.D. that deals with extraterrestrial threats. So anything that's not terrestrial. So anything from outer space or from another dimension, SWORD deals with. So as of right now, it's almost confirming what's going on is it's another dimension. Like an alternate reality. There's been a lot of talk about what's going on with the Spider-Man 3 movie and the fact that Doctor Strange's second movie is called Multiverse of Madness. I think what Marvel is doing is we're going into the bigger picture of Marvel and learning what all we can use, not just the MCU stuff. I think they're going to start bringing stuff from other continuity and other aspects into Marvel, and I think that WandaVision may be their segue into doing it. Move on to episode 3, we go to color. We're now in the 1970s. It's zany, it's fun, there's a lot of wacky stuff going on, but Geraldine is there again. Wanda gets pregnant out of nowhere, and throughout the whole episode, she has the kid, mind you, 2 kids, twins, but at the end, Geraldine releases knowledge of her brother Pietro. Pietro died in Age of Ultron. Wanda snaps, and then all of a sudden, Geraldine is out into the real world, and she's beaten up and battered and bruised, and she's surrounded by what we would think is SWORD. Now this is episode 4. The main reason I made this video, because I think this is the pinnacle of what just happened. And also, episode 4 is really fresh in my mind. This episode is like the world building episode. It tells us what's going on. It tells us what we either A, thought or didn't think, starts to give us the bigger scheme of things. Geraldine is actually this character named Monica, and she's actually Monica Rambeau, who is the daughter of Marie Rambeau from Captain Marvel. That's really cool. So the episode starts off with the snap. Iron Man snap, to be precise. It shows us in real time all the people coming back after they got snapped. Really cool watching that. That was a really cool, like, non-superhero watch. Like, it's just the people dealing with the fact of everyone just reappearing out around them. And they were in a hospital. So it's like all these people reappearing in these little tiny areas, just popping up, popping up, popping up, popping up, and they just didn't know what to do. So that's when we find out that Marie Rambeau is her mother. Great world connection, great world building. Also kind of makes sense. Marie was with Carol, which would make her, in turn, we find out, the creator of S.W.O.R.D. Makes a lot of sense because she was so involved with the Skrulls. She was so involved with Carol. Like, it makes sense that she would want to make a division protecting Earth from extraterrestrial threats. Come to find out that now the new leader of S.W.O.R.D., since we find out Marie died of cancer, the new director of S.W.O.R.D., he's grounded Monica per her mom's limits of people coming back from the snap. But at the same time, he wants to use her. He wants to, like, hey, I don't want to keep you away from a job, basically, and I know you like what you're doing. So he sends her to this little altercation happening in New Jersey, a missing persons altercation. And come to find out, when she gets there, no one knows anything about this town. They say it doesn't exist. When the town is sitting directly behind them. Monica then puts a drone into the city, disappears. Poof. Wanda finds a drone, the exact same colors, not black and white, with the S.W.O.R.D. emblem on it, that she flew in. Interesting, right? Monica then enters the world. Enter Geraldine from the other episodes. She is Monica Rambeau. She looks like her memory gets wiped when she gets in. We don't know. So once she goes in, S.W.O.R.D. starts to swarm the area. They set up a base. It's very reminiscent of when Thor's hammer hit Earth and S.H.I.E.L.D. was dealing with that. And they had like the whole base set up around it. This is now S.W.O.R.D., not S.H.I.E.L.D. We also got the character of Jimmy Woo back from Ant-Man 2. When the guy who was like trying to like always catch Scott if he was home or not. Really good world building there, Disney. You're bringing in a lot of characters and keeping like this world cohesive. After they get the base set up, they bring in Kat Dennings' character from the Thor movies, Darcy. So, that's crazy, right? A character we haven't seen for years that's now a doctor, and she's also a doctor, like, and understands, like, dimensional science. That's why they bring her in. That's also another indication of what is going on here. Are they actually doing, like, multiverse-style action? Like, are they bringing in the multiverse? Are we bringing in alternate realities? During Thor Dark World, she dealt with the different portals to the different worlds. All the nine worlds. She figures out how to figure out what's going on inside this, like, dimension bubble created around this town. That they keep putting things in and it's disappearing. At the end of episode 1, we see someone looking at a TV screen watching Wanda and Vision. Come to find out, it's Darcy. She's actually figured out how to rig a vintage television to radio waves or whatever waves coming out from that area and is able to watch what is going on inside of there like it's a TV show. She then figures out maybe we can contact them and gets Jimmy to go through on a radio, which in the show a couple episodes prior, the radio goes on. It's like, Wanda, Wanda, can you hear me? Wanda, Wanda. It's actually Jimmy Woo. This whole time, S.W.O.R.D. has been trying to figure this out. I think this is great. This might just be me needing more Marvel since we had a very long span of no Marvel content. But I honestly think that this is some of the best Marvel content that has been coming out. There's a scene at the end of episode 2 where this random beekeeper comes out of the sewer. Come to find out, it's actually an agent from S.W.O.R.D. trying to go underneath the like city to come up into the bubble, which they didn't think the bubble extended underground. Shocker, it does. Guy in his hazmat suit transforms into this beekeeper to fit the world, I guess. Why a beekeeper would have come out of the sewer, I don't know. And then his connection cord to connect him to the outside world becomes a jump rope. I think this Wanda that they're showing us might be her full potential Wanda. In the MCU right now, Wanda and her powers are very bland. It's basically some telekinesis, some projectiles, and some like mind control. It's not really Wanda, Scarlet Witch from the comic books. Scarlet Witch from the comic books could snap your fingers and turn you into a pig essentially. She has like all reality warping powers. And that's like a minuscule basis. But the Wanda that we're witnessing in this show, she's just changing reality. End of episode 3, Monica gets booted out of Westview. We don't know how, but she gets booted out. She hits the ground, and that's when I said the sword was all around her. This episode, we actually see it. She gets knocked through the walls by Wanda, who she hasn't really used the red powers yet, but she did uses the red powers, and we're like, oh, here it comes! And she just shoots her through wall, building, and out of the town and out of the like reality bubble. Monica wakes up and she's like, it's Wanda. Wanda's doing this. It's Wanda. And then it cuts back to Wanda and she's rebuilding the wall, like making it come back together, like reversing time essentially. And then she looks and turns over and Vision comes back in. Vision's been a flip between Paul Bentley, the actor, and Vision, the way he looks in, like as a human, and then as Vision, like the android. He comes in and he looks like Vision after he gets killed by Thanos. His stone's missing, he's gray, he's nasty looking, and then it cuts to him again and he's back to normal. As of right now, my theory on what's going on in WandaVision is she has snapped. She has gone crazy and she's trying to keep the person that she loves alive. It is heartbreaking. She lost 2 of her loved ones within a short time span is ridiculous. She lost her brother Pietro, and she lost Vision as well, the love of her life. The House of Mouse just bought the rights to the Fox franchises that they owned. So, Fantastic Four, X-Men, etc. In the comic book storylines, there's a story called House of M. Basically, House of M, Wanda was done with everything, snapped her fingers. All mutants were written out of existence. What if Disney and Marvel Studios flips that aspect? Wanda snaps her fingers and brings mutants into existence. They got to bring the mutants somehow into the MCU, and I'm not entirely sure how they're going to wind up doing it. Because they haven't really hinted at mutants before. But I know that now that they have the property, they want to bring them in. There's no way they can't bring them in. So guys, let me leave you with this. I highly recommend you to watch WandaVision. If you like Marvel, if you like world building, if you like great characters, if you like great acting, if you like wondering what's going to happen next, watch WandaVision. Just watch WandaVision. It's great. Alright guys, thanks for listening to me. Bye.